Hello there. This is just a quick video describing a project that I and a couple of other university students are working on. So, the project is about designing and implementing a medical emergency alert and response system that would be used as part of a smart home environment. This is a project we selected because we felt there will definitely be a demand for this in the smart home context. So, let's get right into it. To start off, let me describe the use cases of our project. So the first use case is for low-risk patients. Now these are patients who have just been recently safely discharged from a hospital and having a passive monitoring of their vital signs would prove beneficial in keeping a track of their rehabilitation, maybe from a surgery or some other kind of injury, and it would also provide peace of mind for the other family members who are staying with them in the household. The second use case for our application is for the elderly. Now, as we all know, the elderly often suffer from numerous health conditions that come as a result of old age, and uh, our application is going to be very applicable for the elderly because it empowers the elderly to be able to live independently to be able to live independently and safely within a smart home. So using our project or our application, smart homes would be able to sustain their lives by passively monitoring their vitals and providing an emergency alert should the state change to that of an emergency. Moving on, this slide shows at a glance the whole architectural design for our project, and I'm going to be spending the majority of the video here walking you through each step of it. So to start off with, we're going to require our users or our patients or elderly family members to wear a smartwatch. This has to be an Android Wear smartwatch that runs the Wear OS because our whole system is going to be designed for that platform. So we're going to require our user to wear an Android Wear smartwatch, for example, the Samsung Gear S3. And this smartwatch is going to constantly measure the user's heart rate in the background using the inbuilt heart rate sensor, and it is going to send these heart rate measurements wirelessly to a Raspberry Pi that we're going to set up elsewhere in the house. And this Raspberry Pi, which is basically like a mini computer, is going to be our controller. So what it's going to do is this Raspberry Pi is going to receive the heart rate measurements, and it's going to process them, and it's going to process and analyze them using an algorithm which we're going to develop to detect sudden spikes or dips in the heart rate that keep recurring over a period of time. So so in our application, for an emergency state to be activated, such a pattern has to be detected by the system. And when this pattern is detected, the whole system goes into what we're calling an emergency state. And in that state, the Raspberry Pi is going to send an alert to the family members who will have the app system installed on their devices like their smartphone or their Android Wear smartwatches. And it's through these devices that they're going to be alerted that hey, there's something going on with your family member. His heart rate is going too high or too low. Please check on him. And it's on both of these interfaces that the family members will be given the option to immediately call for an ambulance if it turns out that the situation is actually that of an emergency when they inspect the family member. Aside from this, in the case of an emergency alert, we're also going to light up all of the lights in the smart home, and we're also going to sound a siren inside of the smart home. Now, this is going to be very useful, especially in the situation where it's nighttime and all of the other family members are asleep. So this would be an effective way of waking them all up, alerting them to the state of the emergency so that they can quickly and swiftly respond, and hopefully the patient's life will then be saved. Furthermore, we've also accounted for a case where the patient or elderly family member is staying by themselves at home; they're home alone. So we're going to have a timeout for we're going to have a timeout we're going to have a timeout set to around 3 to 5 minutes. And if there's no response from the family members on either smartwatch or the smartphone application, we are going to sound a siren that's going to be outside of the house to alert the neighbors that there's an emergency going on, or any of the onlookers passing by on the street. And this is going to be a verbal siren, so it's going to be saying something like, emergency, someone in this house has just collapsed, please call for an ambulance. And in that situation, hopefully some helpful, kind-hearted people will call an ambulance, and the patient's life can be saved. Of course, our application also provides the facility such that even if the family members are away from the home, they can still call from the ambulance using their watch or their phone remotely. And similarly, we're also going to have a light beacon outside of the house to kind of make people who are passing by the street aware that there's something going on in this house, and hopefully guide the ambulance towards the house using a light beacon. So on the other side of our application, we have another layer of its operation. So at the same time as our patient's smartwatch is measuring and collecting the heart rate and sending it to the Raspberry Pi, it's also going to send it to a web application which we're going to develop. And this web application is going to present information about the patient or the elderly family member, like, for example, their Emirates ID, their name, which health conditions they suffer from, their blood type, their prior medical history, which hospital they've been going to, who's their family doctor, and all that kind of information. This information is going to be stored in a NoSQL database and is going to be presented on the web application. And in addition to this, we're also going to have on the web application a real-time feed of the patient's heart rate, because you see, the heart rate is one of the main vital signs in a person's body, and it helps to provide it helps to provide a bit of a snapshot of the person's health. And from this, doctors and other medical personnel can diagnose what's going on with the patient. So we're going to have a real-time feed on our web application. It won't be exactly real-time because there's going to be some delay, because our application is going to be hosted on a remote server somewhere, but it'll still be a useful metric. And the ambulance will be able to access this web application along with the doctor who's in the emergency ward of the hospital. And this will help them because, for example, in the ambulance, the paramedics can know everything about the patient before they get to the scene, before they get to the home. And having this prior information, they'll be able to better try and resuscitate them. And if this doesn't work out, they'll take the patient to the hospital, and the doctor will know information about the patient before he or she comes into their office or into the hospital ward. And this is basically an overview, a walkthrough of our application. I'd like to end this. Quick video. I want to thank you guys for watching the video, and please comment below with any questions or comments or suggestions you may have. Thank you very much. Have a great day.